This video is all about images. You'll notice that the information memorandum and all of the new Lloyd's templates are very image heavy. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that we live in a very visual age and people generally have become accustomed to reading less text content and viewing shorter paragraphs of text accompanied by visual images that underscore the message. The other reason is that people buy with their eyes, and an image can convey 1,000 words. It can also present a business in a much more professional light than any text content could. So the goal of the new documents is to have really well written content accompanied by great financials and statistics, as we always would need, but to also use visually stimulating images to put forward the professionalism and the level of appeal of the business that we're selling. So first of all, we'll talk about where to get images. Obviously, there's going to be some images that we need to get from the client, like profile photos of their team, or perhaps some photos of their warehouse or their place of work. But other photos, we can use general stock images. And I'll show you a few places where I like to get my stock images. The first place is a website called Pexels, P-E-X-E-L-S. Why I like this website is that all the photos are free, they're license free, so we can use them without risk of copyright. But they're great photos, they're really artistic, they capture emotions, so they're not just your typical stock photos. For example, if we go to Pexels and we search for business, here are some of the photos that we get. You'll notice that they're quite emotive and can be used in a lot of different situations. The color styling of them has been specifically selected to make them look more interesting. Other common search terms you might use is office, or meeting. But there's a whole range of different photos. For example, if your customer is in a more industrial sector, or if they're in the mining industry, or if they're in agriculture. There's photos that can be used in all different scenarios. Of course, Pexels may not have the exact kind of photo you're looking for, so you'll notice that below on the training video screen I've listed a range of websites where you can get good photos. I'd recommend starting with Pexels because you're probably going to find the image you want and then working your way down the list. So let's talk about using images in your Word document. You probably already know that you can insert an image into a Word document by going to Insert and Picture, and then selecting the picture from your computer. Whenever you click on an image or insert an image, you get these boundary boxes, these circles here, and you can scale the image down or up. If you click on the corner, you'll scale it proportionately, but you can also distort it by clicking on the side. You can make it wider, and you can distort the height. Whereas clicking on the corners scales it proportionally. Because the new documents use text boxes a lot for positioning, let's talk about how to put an image in a text box. There's two different ways to do this. The first one is if we just insert a text box, we can insert an image into that text box. So we'll click in the text box, we'll go to Pictures, and we'll insert an image into the text box. So what we have here is a text box element, and inside that text box is an image. They're two separate elements, so if I make the image too big, you'll see we start to lose some of it. But I can also make it much smaller than the text box, so the text box is much bigger and the image is small within inside it. Replacing an image is quite easy. All you have to do is right click on the image and go to Change Picture from a file, and then select the new image that you want to replace it. for example, as horse image. And then to change it back, you could right click, change picture from a file, and select the new file. In this case, you'll see that there's a white margin around the image. It's not butt up against this text box. To fix that, we can right click on the text box and go to Format Shape. We get this side menu that we used in the previous tutorial, and we can click on the Layout and Properties tab. So if we expand the text box option, if we reduce these margins, you'll notice that the image starts to butt up against the outer text box. So the problem here was that there was a margin applied to the text box. There was no issue with the image, it was the margin on the text box. And by reducing that margin to 0, as you can see there, now the image can butt up against the text box without any spacing, which looks a lot nicer. So that's one way to insert images into text boxes. We've got the separate image within the text box element. But that's predominantly not how we put images into text box into the documents that you'll be editing for Lloyd's. The other method, I'll just delete this image. The other method of getting images into text boxes is to set the background of the text box as an image itself. So to do that, we'll right click on the text box, go to Format Shape, and under the bucket, the fill bucket, we'll expand the fill section. And instead of a solid fill, which we explored in the previous tutorial, we can change the background to any color. Instead of doing that, we'll choose the picture fill. And then we'll select an image from our computer to be the background. So instead of inserting an image into the text box as a separate element, now it's just one element. It's just a text box. That's the only element on the page, but we have set the background of that text box to be an image. And that means that if I change the size of this text box, the image automatically changes with it. So there's absolutely no white spacing between the image and the text box. It's just one element. This is predominantly how we use images and text box together in the Lloyd's documents that you'll be editing. As well as setting the background of the image, we can also change the transparency of that background by sliding this up or down. Now you'll notice that as I slide that, this doesn't change. That's because I've accidentally clicked inside the text box, and so as you can see here, now it's formatting the text option rather than the shape. So it's formatting the text within the text box, not the text box itself. If I click on shape options, you'll see these elements that we saw before. I'm back at the box level. And now if I go to fill and adjust the transparency, you'll see that it fades out. So watch for that trick. Sometimes when you click inside the text box, as I'll do now, you'll be able to see that this menu changes to text options. And this can be a bit of a gotcha if you're not looking out for it. But it's easy enough to get back to the text box options. You can just click on shape. Or the other way that we've already explained is right click and go to Format Shape. Under the bucket option, you'll find the solid fill or the picture fill and the transparency that we can make the background. What this means is that we can have multiple images in multiple text boxes, all at different transparencies. So if I change that image to maybe the horse riding image, so you can see that that box has a transparency applied to it, and it's sitting on top of the other box. And it gives us almost endless formatting possibilities. As with anything, the first time you use these features, you might find it a bit difficult, But then as you use it a second and third time, it'll just become so easy, just like second nature. Something I forgot to mention before is that when you're downloading stock photos from Pexels, if you find an image that you want, say for example this sun image, and you click on it, on the download page you'll see an arrow, and when you put your mouse over the arrow it gives you 4 sizes to download the image. What I recommend is when editing the Lois documents, you always download the medium-sized image, not the large or the original, because they're much bigger. And having lots of very large images in the document will do is it'll make that document very large, maybe 20 megabytes, 30 megabytes, and the document will get to such a size that it can't be emailed comfortably to a client or to a prospective buyer. So by always using medium-sized images, or if the image that you're going to insert is quite small, you can use a small image. But if it's a full page image, use medium, and that way you'll still get a good quality image, but it won't make the document too large to email. And so you select medium, and then you can select download, and that will download a medium-sized version of that image. While we're on the subject of images, I want to show you how to install a very important plugin to your Chrome browser. This plugin will let you take a screenshot of any website. So it's useful for taking a screenshot of ABN details on the government website, or for taking a screenshot of a map where your client is located, or any other situation. Taking a screenshot of their Facebook page, of their website, of their Twitter feed, of marketing that they have online. It'll become very handy for you. So here's how to do it. If you open up Chrome, and then in your Chrome internet browser, you click on these 3 dots, and then you click on More Tools, or just mouse over More Tools. You'll get a sub-menu, and you can select Extensions. These are extensions that you can install into Chrome so that they're always available. So this step that we're doing now, you won't ever have to do this more than once. You do it once and then it will be much quicker from that point on. So let's click on Extensions. By default, it may show you a few extensions. Just scroll down and click on Get More Extensions at the bottom here. And then using the search form, type in sorry, that's wrong. Type in send and explain screenshots. Send and explain screenshots. The first one that should come up is the one that we want. It looks like this. Now I've already installed this extension to Chrome, so I don't get an Add to Chrome button. But what you'll see is a blue button just like this, Add to Chrome. Click that button and follow a couple of prompts and it'll be installed. It's a very quick process. Once it's installed, you'll notice that whenever you browse to a web page, you'll see this icon up the top right hand corner. It kind of looks like a little blue image. And what you can do is on that web page, you can click that icon and choose the option to grab a selected area. And then you can just drag over the area that you want and it will create that as an image for you. You can click Done and Download, and that will download that as an image to your computer. You can then insert that image on any page of the information memorandum into a text box, wherever you like it. So whilst there's a couple of seconds required to set up initially, once set up, you won't have to go through that setup process. Any page that you go to, whether it's a client's page, an internet web page on the government website, you can just click that icon and grab a section of the website and download it as an image. It's a very useful tool and I recommend you install it. As you'll see in the final tutorial that we do, we use this feature twice. So I recommend installing it now.